Hello and welcome. My name is Rodincoil, and you are listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. Hello there, and welcome back to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with me, your host, Rodincoil, and thank you for joining me. We're up to gig 39, and spoiler alert, if you are a Bauhaus fan, you might want to switch off now. The world would be a very dull place if we all liked all the same things. And while I quite like a couple of their singles, on this particular night, me and the boys from Northampton were not a match made in heaven, which oddly enough is where the gig was. So here we go, it's Bauhaus, Torso and ClockDVA at the Heaven Ultradisco in Charing Cross, London on Monday the 30th of March 1981. Reagan's president-elect, fascist god in motion. Brothers, sisters, we don't need this fascist groove thang. Sheffield Friends Heaven 17 have just released We Don't Need This Fascist Groove Thang. And, despite Glenn Gregory pronouncing Reagan as if it were the DI from the Sweeney entering the Oval Office, the song's message is one that fellow, young, left-wing, liberal-minded musicians like us can get behind. So when the news comes through to us, supping pre-pint gigs with some fans in the Griffin Tavern on Villiers Street, that President Reagan has been shot, the mood is somewhat celebratory. Indeed, what is more surprising to me is not that someone has attempted to kill the newly elected 40th President of the United States of America, but that ClockDVA actually have fans south of Chesterfield. Our band is back in London to play at the Heaven Ultradisco, a gay club under the arches below Charing Cross Station. Gig promoters Final Solution have started putting on shows here on Monday nights. Throbbing Gristle played at the venue just before Christmas. New Order last month. And my new heroes, Perubu, just a couple of weeks ago. It is, in short, the new cool place to play in London. We are nominally co-headlining with Northampton Gloomster's Bauhaus, but a dance troupe called Torso is also on the bill. I quite like Bauhaus's singles, Dark Entries and Terror Couple Kill Colonel. The latter reminds me of Seconds Too Late by Cabaret Voltaire. What's challenging tonight is that we lack the army blanket security of opening for like-minded, industrial, electronic chums like the Cabs, TG or the Human League. Tonight is a raid into unknown territory to see if we can capture some of Bauhaus's followers. And what followers they are! Once inside heaven, all dark, matte brick caverns and dim, labyrinthine passages, there is more preening than in an aviary. An aviary where all the exotic birds on display have the same colour plumage. Black. The aubergine nail varnish reservoir at Boots must have been drained dry over the weekend. The bands are billeted in the Eagle Bar, which is apparently the private members club within Heaven. Yet more black. It feels like a dungeon. There is a message board on the wall, full of eye-opening propositions. Bauhaus and their retinue arrive. Their singer, Pete Murphy, is accompanied by two young ladies who appear to be dressed up as fairies, all in white. These are his ladies-in-waiting, who will help him get ready for tonight's performance. This will take 4 hours. Now, for someone like me, for whom getting ready means popping on a clean white shirt in the bogs, this seems both ludicrous and vainglorious. Our guitarist, Paul, is tuning up close by.
"Oh, Peter!"
one of the fairies exclaims.
"You have your own guitar tuner."
Paul simply stares at her. Murphy, in fairness, is thoroughly embarrassed. Putting down his mirror and makeup, he apologises profusely. We play first, and things go wrong. A bass string breaks. My kick drum pedal collapses. Nonetheless, the gathering throng manages to stop looking at each other for the 40 minutes that we are on stage. We depart, if not in triumph, having at least been afforded a fair hearing. Meanwhile, back in the Eagle Bar, Project Peter is still being attended to. Naked from the waist up, he is being stitched into an elaborate, delicate costume made of gauze and muslin. This gossamer-light creation is being sewn together with filigree and ardour by his handmaidens. Peter stands, arms outstretched, Jesus in jodhpurs. We get chatting to bass player David J.
"Do you realise,"
he proclaims, as if the meaning of life has just been revealed to him,
"that dog is God spelt backwards?"
We thank him for his insights and go back out front for a look at Torso. 6 strapping black guys gyrate and pivot to a pounding electro dance backing track. It's an impressive display of mime and free movement, expertly choreographed, and the now full room responds warmly to Torso's terpsichorean parade. Just after midnight, the finishing trinkets are attached to Pete Murphy, and finally, Bauhaus are ready. An art rock Mount Rushmore. I've never seen 4 such finely chiselled young men. Tribal, thunderous drumming is matched by rapid-fire bass playing. Guitarist Daniel Ash struts around like a peacock, while Pete Murphy does his best faux Bowie impression, striding around the stage, portentously declaiming his lyrics. Terror couple Kill Colonel is steamrollered flat early on, and they cough up their own strain of the creeping funk virus with Kick in the Eye. A mechanical bull on the Studio 54 dance floor. I don't get it. I should like this. I like arty, pretentious rock music. I'm in an arty, pretentious rock band. Bauhaus's album is called In the Flat Field, and it seems to me that they are happy to plough the same furrow over and over again. Peel away the eldritch cloak and glam theatrical trappings, and they are basically a competent, if somewhat ponderous, hard rock group. Pete Murphy's lovingly handcrafted costume is coquettishly strip-teased away, revealing a xylophone chest, before being tossed to his adoring acolytes and fought over as if his cast-off vestments were holy relics. They plunder on. When they do change the tempo on the spooky Hollow Hills and a Nembutol cover of John Cale's Rose Garden Funeral of Saws, they reveal a strange musical equivalent of football's ultra-defensive Catenaccio strategy. Great at keeping possession, yet unable to create anything interesting from it. Finally, they arrive at Bela Lugosi's Dead, the song that launched 1,000 crypts, only for the power to go dead halfway through their signature song. Bauhaus troop off disconsolately as an electrician is urgently sought. Backstage, their manager is shouting at the promoter.
This hasn't happened to a band of mine since I managed Colosseum.
Colosseum, an unloved jazz rock stegosaurus from 10 years ago. All these proggy old farts were supposed to have been obliterated in 1977. I wasn't a conscientious objector in the punk rock wars for this. The Who were right. The new boss is the same as the old boss. Who needs a manager anyway? Electricity is restored, and Bauhaus return to finish their funeral parlour Freebird and play 3 rapturously received encores. St. Peter and his disciples ascend into heaven, whereas we pack up the van and head for the M1. The radio tells us that Ronald Reagan has survived the attempted assassination. The fascist Gruthang will not be derailed after all. Friend of the band and sometime road help John Clayton puts the night in perspective.
Look at it this way. That were like Sheffield United getting an away point at Arsenal. Difficult, but job done.
Yeah, but how come we ended up playing before Ruby Flipper?
We pull in for petrol at Watford Gap Services. Bleak and cruddy on the best of days, and as welcoming as Windscale at 5 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. We're in Northamptonshire, home patch of the night's all-conquering heroes. The Blue Boar, Northampton, Bauhaus. It's all a load of cobblers. Within a year, Bauhaus were back in heaven, performing Bela Lugosi's Dead for the opening sequence of Tony Scott's 1983 vampire film The Hunger, starring David Bowie, Susan Sarandon and Catherine Deneuve. David J. released a cover version of ClockDVA's 4 Hours in 1985. Thank you, David J. Bauhaus split in 1983, only to reunite in 1998 and then again in 2005. An influential band, Bauhaus never lost their talent for self-mythologizing. The backstage rider for the 2005 tour included a stipulation that the fluffy towels provided must be black. You have been listening to My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts with me, your host, Roger Quayle. Thank you to Paul Widger for the guest voices, and thank you always to Rionagh for the artwork and to Simon Elliott Kemp for the intro and outro music. Join me again next time for another episode from My Life in the Mosh of Ghosts. This is Roger Quayle saying thank you and bye-bye.